This should work. You are live. Done. YouTube told me I'm live, so I'm pretty sure I'm live. Please check 720p. Yeah, check 720p, please. Perfect. Cool. So I'll disconnect the call. Text me if there's any issues, and yeah, and I'll open the chat section of the YouTube on my phone. So WhatsApp and chatting is there on my phone. Yeah, cool. Sure. Bye. Right. Okay. So one very common installation issue that I have realized people are having is that you guys are just checking if the Python shell opens. That's not what we're supposed to do. So I'll just demonstrate what you're supposed to do. Okay, चलो छोड़ो WhatsApp गया भाड़ में. I'll just You have to search command prompt, not Python. You're not running Python right now. You're running the Windows ka command prompt or Mac ka terminal or Ubuntu ka terminal, whatever operating system you're using. This will open. It will show you your path here. As you can see, C user Ankit. That's where you type Python, and this should come. The difference, so I'm pretty sure you must have realized that this जो यहाँ दिख रहा है is the exact same thing that shows up if you guys do this, but this is not what we need क्योंकि if you search Python and run it, it will work. ठीक है, you have installed Python, but what you need to ensure is that your computer can detect Python as a system program, and it is added to the path that will be seen by the command prompt. So the command prompt has certain uh, paths or file paths. So anything like C users Ankit is a path, right? So it's how to get to a file or a directory on your PC. So those specific paths are recognized by the command prompt as okay, if a command is typed, I have to look for the meaning of that command over here. Python is not just a programming language but also a compiler that basically tells the computer how to understand that programming language. So that python.exe, the command prompt should know how to access. If it knows where it is, if it is there in the path properly, this will work properly. Otherwise, like, it just gives you an error. So right now I'll just type it wrong so that, so this is what it'll give you instead. Like, it'll say Python is not recognized as an internal or external command. That's when you know that, it looked through all its paths and it couldn't find Python. That is still fine for today. We can use an online compiler or just the Python shell to get shit working. But day after tomorrow, when we're doing Django, you will absolutely not be able to run the website that we build if this does not work. Hence, I insisted on this working. So I hope everyone has joined. I'll just ensure on the group. Okay, not under the wrong account. No, I'll also be monitoring the live chat. I'll just send in a message. I'll try. Yeah, I just sent a hi on the live chat. Okay, so that's tested too. I'm starting with the session now. I think everyone is here. Can I see how many people have joined? Um, okay, I I have zero idea how many people are actually watching this right now, but um, I guess everyone's here, so I'm assuming everyone is here. I see a lot of highs and hellos, so that's good. Um, Great. So now the most basic thing that I wanted to start off with was the concept of what is a computer. Now I know that is a very stupid thing to start with, but because like you guys probably know what a computer is, but it's very important that you guys see it from this perspective to understand why we're programming. Great, there's ads and sketchpads also now. Anyways, I'll be drawing to the side then. So this is our basic idea of a computer. That's a very shit looking computer, but okay. Yeah, that's the monitor. Okay, so right, so a computer is basically that takes some inputs from the user and gives some sort of outputs. Now, what could be an input? An input could be anything from you pressing the power button to maybe running a program. Okay, not even running a program, actually typing in values, like you tell the computer to do something and it does it. That's the most basic idea of a computer. That's what it has been ever since the creation of a computer. You can see it in the name itself, like it computes stuff. So you give it any input, it does something and shows you an output. An example would be, say you enter your uh, I really should turn WhatsApp off here. Okay. So say you enter your password in Windows, and then Windows checks it and then shows you your desktop if the password is correct. Otherwise, it just tells you that the password is wrong. So you gave it the input of the password and it gave you the output of either showing you the desktop or telling you that the password is wrong. So that's how a computer works, and that's what we will be doing as a programmer, that we take in an input, we do something to it, and we give an output. That's the whole point of programming. Now, Python as a language is considered very, very powerful. I'll just share the slides with you guys as well. Give me a minute. This one. Here we go. So I've just shared some slides with you guys. And my profile isn't needed anymore. Yeah, right one. Okay. So this is everything that I intend to cover today. Just click present and perfect. Okay. Right. So what we'll be starting with today is um, all these topics of Python, but at the start, I'll just tell you what Python is. So, yeah, this is some generic information about Python as a language. Um, uh, you can just see it in the slides that I've shared. Right. So the biggest advantage of Python is that it's one of the most versatile and the shortest programming languages. Like the syntax, basically the stuff that you have to write to make stuff happen, is very, very short. In C, for example, if you just want to print something on the screen, print in programming terms usually means to display, like to display it anywhere in a terminal, in the output screen, whatever. But to display, we use the command print. So in C, as you can see, it's like 4 lines and quite disgusting looking lines. But in Python, that's it. That works. So now what we'll be doing, and now I want you guys to follow me in this. What you can do is like split screen and keep the video running on the left, and we can work on the right. So I'll be using Sublime Text today and Visual Studio Code tomorrow and day after. Just so that you guys can see how both of the text editors work. They're pretty similar. The basic idea is to this is just right. I'll just rather open this folder with Sublime Text. So you can keep the setup like this. Um, the slides are for my reference. I've just shared them just in case you want to take a look at something or the screen resolution gets really bad or whatever. But you guys really don't need the slides. So instead, you could have the left side be the video. And I'll just click on present. I can't present in half screen, can I? Great. Um, maybe I could get rid of this. Yeah, that works. Okay, so um, please try out this program. Basically, you can type whatever you want and it'll display exactly that. Right now, I'm just trying to show you how to output something from a Python program and how do you actually run a Python program. So just type in whatever you want, print, open quotes, whatever you want, close quotes, close bracket, and you need to save it as a Python file. So now actually I'll open folder, script, projects. Yeah. Now please, why in hell would it go there? Now if I save it, yeah, makes sense. Take care. Again, you could call the file whatever you want. Right now I've just called it printintro.py. Now the important part. You need to run the file from the command prompt. So you can have this guy here. I think this way everyone can see everything. Okay. Have you guys followed me till here? I'll just give you a minute to actually type the code in. So Please tell about atom. Right. So any we okay. So programs that we write are basically just a bunch of hi-fi text, right? So just like we create some documents in Word or we write some stuff into the notepad, it just gets stored as text inside. Uh, it's just text that is stored inside the memory of your device, and the only special part about it is that it's written in such a way that the computer can actually understand what you've written. So thank you, Vivek, you just reminded me that I forgot to cover this part. Um, so since it's just some special text, you can use any text editor. You could write the same in Notepad as well. So as you can see, I saved that file over here, and I can open it with Notepad as well, and it works. It's not an issue. It's just text, right? So you could use any text editor that lets you type stuff in and save it, and that's fine. You could use Notepad, you could use Atom, you could use Sublime Text, you could use Visual Studio Code. The only difference between all of these is that they all have slightly different features. Like as you saw in Notepad, the text was just one color. Out here, you get syntax highlighting. So if I make some stupid mistake, like I forget the uh, comma and do that, Sublime Text actually tells me like, dude, I know what Python looks like. This is something wrong. So that's helpful. It helps you notice what errors you've made and quickly correct them. That's why we use specialized text editors. But if you haven't installed anything right now, Notepad works as well. So I'll give you 2 minutes. Please try having a .py file saved with this code inside it. I hope you guys were able to do this, like save a file called whatever.py and actually put this one line of code inside it. Now I'll show you how to run it. So what you'll have to do is navigate your command prompt to the actual location of the file. That's why I would recommend that you keep the file somewhere within C users and then your username, because then it's much easier to access. For example, let's say it's inside your desktop. So you could do cd desktop and it'll go inside. Cd is short form for change directory. So what we're doing here is we're just telling the command prompt key right now you were looking at C users Ankit and all the files and folders inside it. So now instead look inside C users Ankit desktop and see all the files over there. So I'll quickly navigate to where my file is. Um, you can also just, oops, I can't copy that. Yeah, what you could do is go click on properties and get the location of the file and then just paste that in here, and that works too. So you could do it that way. That'll ensure that you're in the correct directory wherever you saved your file, and then you just have to do python space file name and it prints hello world. So it does exactly what you asked it to. Instead, I could be like, I hope the font size is fine for everyone. Should I make it bigger or anything? Like, it's fine, right? Nobody's commenting. Okay, इसका भी try करते हैं. Properties, font size. Let's make it 20. Yeah, that should be helpful. Yeah, I think that's a bit better. Um, were you guys able to do this? Like, please reply on either the YouTube live chat or WhatsApp, so I know if you guys are able to do it. Right. Okay. So the first step is to open a text editor and just type stuff in. So I'll just do the entire thing again. Um, and print, and then you do save, and you save it wherever you want, either desktop, documents, wherever on your PC you want to save it. You save it as whatever. Try.py. Do not forget to put .py at the end, and the save as type should be all files, not text or something, otherwise it'll mess up and won't be able to run it. So ensure that the file extension is .py, and the name you can set as whatever you want. Preferably don't put any spaces in the name, because typing that into the command prompt is a different syntax, and we don't really need to go into the complications of the command prompt. So here we go. I just saved a file called try.py, and the content is this single line print try2. What you now need to do is start your command prompt. So I'll do this part again as well. Start a command prompt. Just put it here. Yeah. Now what you want to do is cd and then the location of the file. So what you can do is click on this. No. Click on the file here and open containing folder. That would give you where the file is. You right click it and properties. Here you can see the location of the file. So you want to copy this. So Control C. Okay. Close the file explorer. Come to the command prompt. Put quotes and paste it inside. Control V. Right. And then when you press enter. How did that not work this time? Okay, maybe because I'm on a different drive. Yeah, there we go. That worked. Right. So I had, since my code was on a different drive from C, I had to switch drives. If you also have to do it, you just need to put the drive letter and a colon and it'll switch to that drive, and then you can run the cd and it'll work. And then once you have reached the location of the file in your command prompt, you can just type python space filename dot py and it'll give you the output. Was it clear this time? Right. So somebody just pasted it like this, which is fine. You just forgot to type cd out here. So what happened here was like it just gave this person an error saying that the so basically this happened to him, that it's not a recognized internal or external command. The reason is that you have to tell command prompt to change directory to that. So you have to mention cd space the path, then it'll work. And then you just do python try.py, no python whatever.py. Can't open file, no such file or directory. Um, right. Okay. You do not have to change directories if your file is in C only. So, say your file is in C users desktop. Sorry. So then you just have to cd into there. But of course, again, I'm on the wrong drive. There you go. So first step is to figure out which drive is your file on. Is it on the C drive? Is it on the D drive? Is it on the E drive? Whatever. And go into that drive. So C or D, and it'll go into that drive. And then you run the cd command with the path, and it'll be in the correct path. Oh, right. To get the sidebar on Sublime Text, what you need to do is file and then open folder. So here you could, I am putting all my code inside this folder, Ankit's workshop series. You guys could just put it on desktop documents wherever you want. So say you wanted to put it inside documents, so you could just select documents, select folder, and it'll open it up with your documents folder with the sidebar. And here you can just, whichever folder you want, you can click new file and get a new file. So I'll just repeat this command prompt stuff because you guys are getting confused a bit with that. So man, this is annoying. Why does it not always? Okay, I'll help you solve these two errors. Directory name is invalid. Right, your directory name should not contain the Python file, so it should just be C users whatever and then desktop, not C users desktop slash Python wala file ka naam. So that's what this guy has to do. Don't include. Right. So I was going to do this entire thing again. Again, I'll increase the font to 20. Okay. Yeah. So now, if your file is in a different directory, say my file is in D slash something something. That's why I have to change my directory first. If your direct, if it's still, if your file is in C only, do not change. Do not type D colon whatever. Now you have to cd into the location where the file is, but you of course do not need the file ka actual name with it. So you go to properties and location. Do not go to the actual path, like don't do this. Grab this D projects work and then the folder name, like the folder name, the path of the folder in which the file is, not the path of the like don't include the file name in the path, otherwise you'll have issues, because what cd does is it changes the current working directory of the command prompt to whatever you've typed in. It cannot change the directory to a file, it has to be a folder. So there we go. Now that we're here, we can just run the file if it's there. I don't know if this works for you guys. Like, there's this other option as well, but doesn't work for me also. So I don't know if it works for others. If you do shift and right click, it might give you an option open command prompt window here. I don't have that option. I don't know why, but like if you have that option, then you don't need to do any of the change directory and cd stuff. You can directly then it'll directly open in your folder and you can just type python and then file name and it'll work. Now are we clear? Has Huh. Okay. So the Python shell is something that people are entering for some reason. So if you just type Python and press enter, this is what you'll get. This is known as a Python shell. It lets you run direct Python commands in the command prompt itself. Now please don't do all this right now, but you can do stuff like print Ankit handle, do it there. So if you're stuck in this, you just type exit and you can come out of it. And if by mistake you instead searched Python and opened this thing, just close it. This is not what you want. If it only says Python whatever, you've opened the wrong window. You need something that says command prompt on top. No such file. Uh, right. Is everyone else able to do this? Like, please reply or something. It's really important that you guys understand how to run a Python program from command prompt, because otherwise, like, I'll have to do all this again on day 3 and I really don't want to. So those who have missed today's lecture also, like, they'll have to figure this out. This always takes time, and that's fine. We have the time today to uh, understand how to run a program from the command prompt, but later I do not want to go through this again. So please ensure that everybody has been able to run your program like this. This part is working for you. You have been able to go to a directory and run the program that is inside the directory, basically. I'll give you guys 3 more minutes and then. Okay. To open command prompt. Okay. You just search command prompt. Okay. I really appreciate those helping me debug in the WhatsApp group. Okay. Oops. Okay, there's YouTube live maybe comments. I'll see those. Okay, please proceed for the love of God. Okay. Those using Mac are having issues. I don't think so. पाथ कहाँ से मिला, खोल के रख रहा हूँ. We need this, which we get. Yeah, we need this guy to come up, and we get it by clicking properties over here. Hmm. This this is what we need to do. Ah, right. Oh my God. Capitalism and communism has been right. Okay, so I think I should proceed now. A good amount of you have been able to do it. There are some people having minor issues. I'll change the program and still do everything again, so you can follow up at that point. Right. So I don't need this file again anymore. I'll delete it. Now what we'll be doing is taking an input. The most important, as I said, like a computer, basically it takes an input, does something, gives an output. If your program is just instructions to the computer on how to do whatever it wants to do. So for that you need to be able to access inputs and be able to give outputs. I just taught you how to give an output by printing the output. Now what we'll do is we'll take an input. So in Python, all you have to do is use the input keyword, and in quotes you just enter anything that you want to display before the input is taken, so that the user knows that he has to enter that. So let's say enter your name. So I don't know if it's obvious, but what this will do is it'll take an input and it will um and okay, wait, this is actually more complicated than not showing it here. Okay, so for now, just think of name, like think of this sort of like math where name is equal to whatever has been input and then we are printing the name. We'll get into how things are getting saved and whatnot later. Just right now, you input a name, you put it inside name, and then you print the name. That's what we'll be doing. So as you guys wanted me to do this whole thing again, containing folder, properties, here's the path. Here we go. So we've reached the folder, and now all I have to do is run this file. Enter name, my name is Ankit. So it just prints Ankit. What you can also do is print hello and my name. So it says hello Ankit. Let's see if you guys can get this done. Guys, please don't forget the CD word before pasting. Right. So Sublime Text has this tiny little feature that is being discussed on the group right now, that if your file has any active changes that have not been saved, as soon as I put that enter, this cross turned into a circle, which means that the file is not currently saved. Like जो currently screen पे दिख रहा है, that is not the saved version of the file. If I delete those changes, now it's again showing X, so which means that the file is currently in this exact same state in the memory. This is what the file has been saved as. So if you make any changes, do remember to do Control S or file and save to actually save the file, otherwise your changes won't be reflected, and then you can run this again. Again, I think everybody is kinda done, but nobody is really acknowledging if they're done. So okay, so I had slides related to this, I think. Yeah. So what we just did was take an input and print it. Input and output. Next we got variables now. Take it. Now while people are debugging, I'll do some theory explanation of what we just did here. When we type input, enter your name, it actually just takes an input. So uh, that's what happened here. It printed enter your name, and then it was waiting for me, the user, to type something in. So as soon as I typed in Ankit and pressed enter, it's like, okay, I have taken an input. Now what do I do with it? I will put it inside this variable named name. Now variables in Python are a very, or in any programming language, are a very important concept. Basically it's just a named memory location. So um, our when a program is running, it gets allocated a certain amount of RAM or memory where it can store information related to the execution of the program. So stuff like any variables that you've created, any other things that you create, I won't go into the depth, you guys will get confused, but yeah, basically all variables during the execution of the program are stored in the RAM. So name here is an example of a variable. It's basically just a tiny little space in your memory where some information can be saved. So I took the input of a set of characters ANKIT Ankit, and that those characters, those 5 characters, were saved inside name, which is a variable. And then what I did was I just displayed hello along with the name. That's why it was able to print hello Ankit. Now something very important is that data that is stored always has a type. So what we can do is, so as you can see, it says that the type of this is str. Same way, if I instead, okay, wait, no, that won't work. Right, so the type is basically what type of data has been stored inside this variable. So I create a variable called name. I put whatever was input inside it. I then printed stuff, and then I tried to print what type of data is saved inside the variable. So we have a bunch of types. There's integers, that is displayed as int. There's floats, which is basically real numbers. There's strings. Now strings are basically um, a bunch of uh, alphanumeric characters together. It includes all sorts of characters that can be typed in from your keyboard, such as Ankit space Gupta 1234, and it allows that. So numbers, spaces, letters, even special characters would be allowed. So even things like Ankit question mark, no issues. Um, so string, so it's quite a weird terminology, string. The reason for that is that it's a bunch, it's like a necklace. Okay, like a necklace has beads connected by a string. Same way, when this is stored in memory, there's a bunch of individual characters, a, n, k, i, t, and question mark, that are stored in the memory, and they are connected together by a sort of virtual string. That's why the name of this data type was set as string. So now what I'll be showing you is integers. So say let's create a variable called a equal to input, enter one value, and I'll copy that entire thing and leave this open, and I'll create a new file. So this here. Okay, I can't open both. So that's the intro one, that's the add one. Let's do add first. And it added. Same way I can be like some. Yeah, works. Okay. What is not recognized now? Okay. Now I really need to understand if you guys are being able to follow or not. I'm only seeing doubts. I'm not seeing anyone saying that they're actually able to do it. So थोड़ा तो acknowledge करो. Thank you, Tanay. Okay, definitely some people have been able to do this. That's good. So I'll proceed now. So what we just did was called type conversion. When I wrote int and then in brackets I gave it b, I basically told Python to convert whatever was stored inside the variable b to an integer value. Now we all know what integers are. I'm pretty sure everyone's done that much math. So it's basically a number, a whole number, either positive or negative, but no fractional value. So say if I try 1.2 and 2.4, it'll be like invalid literal for int with base 10 1.2. So it'll be like I don't know how to convert the value 1.2 into an integer. That is not supposed to be an integer, because right now all that it has is a string that literally has um, the character 1, then the character dot, and then the character 2 saved inside it. And then it's trying to understand if it can convert it into an integer. If it can, it'll just give you the integer. But if it can't, then of course it's gonna throw an error. So that's what happened. It gave me an error. Same way, if I say would have typed hi and Ankit, it'll be like, how do I convert hi into a number? That does not make sense, right? So hence it's expecting integer values, and if it finds an integer value, so if I give it actual integer values 24 and 30 minus 36, say, it has no issues with that. It understands that the characters 2 and 4 put together can be interpreted as the integer 24, so it does the conversion. Or minus 36, like hyphen 36 can be converted into negative 36, the integer value, so it does it when you ask it to. And hence it was also able to give the sum properly. But as soon as you give it values that it doesn't understand, it just throws an error. Now, if you really want decimal values, of course, not everything, not all calculations that you're doing or not all programs that you're running will only have integers. They might have decimal values as well. So the syntax for that is just to convert it into a float instead. So this would add two floating point numbers, say 36.5 and 3.5, and that gives me 40. So as you can see, the sum is also now a float. It's been saved in memory as a float. That's why it also has a decimal point. Here the answer did not have a decimal point. Now the answer has a decimal point. And also if I actually put the answer inside a variable and I So as you can see, the sum, even though it is technically an integer, like 35 could be saved as an int as well. Since you added two floats, it's like, okay, float plus float is float. Makes sense. So it just saves it as a float. I hope you guys have been able to follow, because data types. Okay, oh, that's a good question. Somebody just asked if it changes ASCII characters. So ASCII is basically how the computer converts a character into a number, and it can technically be done. So, but even Python understands that that's not really the expected functionality. Like when you're giving it the character h and telling it to convert it into a number, you don't really ideally want it to do that. That wasn't what int function was created for, or that wasn't what float was created for. So that's why it doesn't automatically do it, but two separate functions have been created in case you want to do it. So I'll just show you that as well, but you guys don't need to try that one. Eek. There you go. So whoever asked me that question, that's how Python does ASCII, where you have to tell it to do either CHR or the other way around. I think it was. Uh, I don't remember the function name, but that also exists to convert a character into integer. But here, to convert an integer into a character, you can use CHR function. Anyways, that's not relevant to the beginners right now. That's very complicated stuff as to how numbers and characters are actually saved in the same way in the memory and whatnot. But right now, let's just work with simple stuff. So now, of course, float also supports negative values. So, oh, nice. Okay, this was something that I wanted to tell you guys. Lucky that we stumbled into it. As you can see, this answer, while very, very, very close to what was actually expected, is not exactly what was expected. And that is because how the memory actually stores floating points. So one way to store them would have been just to convert it into strings, so actually store it as 1 2.5, like stuff, save it something like that. But that's very confusing when it actually has to interpret what that means, and it'll keep converting back and forth. So instead it just saves it in binary, which is what the computer understands, that is only zeros and ones. And when you like convert a actual floating point value like 12.525 into boolean, into binary, it isn't able to save it precisely that way. So I don't think I should get into too much binary, but what happens is that it does not have the required precision to actually store it perfectly, and that's why it gets a bit confused, and it saves the closest possible value. So uh, it's like if I give you the value 1.1 but tell you that you're only allowed to use integers, and like I force you to use it, so you'll be like, okay, I'll just keep 1 and discard the point 1, right? Like you just round it off. something like that is happening, but in a very, very different way. So it's actually making the value look much more disgusting and big instead of making it look smaller and cuter. But that's kinda the essence of it. I just wanted to show this to you guys, that like the explanation is quite complicated and I'm pretty sure half of you got confused. I myself am still a bit confused as to, like, I know the math now, so now I'm not confused, but I used to be super confused as to why this used to happen. um, but this is not an error. This is how computers work. This is what will happen, and a lot of mehnat goes into trying to remove errors like this simply because of how computers store stuff. Okay, now variables and types. Okay, now somebody recently had gotten none printed. What none is basically it's a special type that has absolutely no value at all. So um, how do I demonstrate it? I don't know if you can. So if you see this, like, there's some example of code here. We saved none inside a variable, and none is actually a special type. Like, it, you'll notice that if I had to put in, if it had to be a string, I would have put it inside quotes. But this is not with quotes, it's without quotes. And there's only three actual values that you can, that are composed of characters like this, that are non-numeric and can be typed without quotes. So let's see if anyone knows those. Let's see if anyone can answer them on either WhatsApp or YouTube. So does anyone know? One of them, of course, is none, but others, does anyone know what other two values can be written? I'll repeat the question. There's only three values that you can write like so, um, without getting an error. Let this go. So this did not give me any error. It just told me the type of X, which is none. There's two more values that you can type like this. Yep, yep, yep. Okay. Gauthi Batman. Wow. That's an interesting name. But yes, those are correct. True and false. These are known as the Boolean values. So, as you can see, bull. Now, we all know what true and false is, but the basic idea is that anything that the computer has to do, it has to make some decisions to do it. So, say you're writing a program that wants to see if it should buy a stock or not. So it'll check what price you bought the stock, what is the current price of the stock, and oh, sorry, not buy, sorry, that's why I got confused. Okay, so if you're writing a program that wants to check whether or not it is a good idea to sell your stocks, so the program, what it would do, would see, okay, is the current stock price more than the price at which I bought it? If it is, then I'll be making a profit and I should sell it. And if it's not, then I won't sell because I'll wait for the price to increase. So for doing something like that, the computer should be able to understand whether or not a condition is true or false, right? Oh, okay. Tanay answered. Oh, right. Sorry, Tanay. Didn't notice. Tanay and Gauthi Batman both got the answer correctly. Sorry. Um, right. So that's what booleans are used for. Whenever we're writing a condition, the computer first converts the condition into either true or false based on whether it's true or false, and then it works further. So uh, let's show you a simple example of a boolean. Say, now let's use this part again. False. And then if I true. So I hope you guys understood what happened here. Basically, I took two inputs and I checked whether or not one was greater than the other. Oh, I did forget to convert it into integers though. Still works though, it's not an issue. Python is amazing like that. If you were using some other programming language right now, it would have told you how in hell do I convert these. But Python just understood, like you're expecting to compare them, so of course they're some sort of comparable entities and converted them into numbers. But doesn't always happen. Um, Still, I mean, the output won't change. Yeah. Okay. So you guys understood what happened here? Like the greater than symbol was used to compare A and B, and basically the output of this comparison was stored as a boolean. So I could store that inside a variable as well, of course, and then C of type type C. False of type bool, as you can see. Any doubts till here? I hope everyone was able to understand input, output, variables, and data types. If you guys want me to repeat anything, do tell me. I'll give you 2 minutes. Uh, what's the next topic? I think numbers, operations, comments, strings. Right. So the PPT has some additional points that are more theoretical, honestly, but like you can take a look at those things. It doesn't really make much sense to go through every small point in there because this will go way beyond 3 hours and we don't really need to go into that much depth. Also, of course, additional things work, so you can say divide a and b and you can get an answer for that. So one value is 32 divided by 8 and it says 4. So yeah, you can do division. Oh, and a cool operator available in Python and I think all programming languages is modulo, represented by the percentage sign. Um, what it does is basically it gives you the remainder of the division. So uh, see, so I do this 32 and divide it by 9. So this should give me 5. Yeah, 5. So what it did was tried to divide 32 by 9 and whatever remainder in the operation. So 9 threes are 27. So 32 minus 27 is 5. So the remainder of dividing 32 by 9 would be 5, and the um, quotient would have been 2. So if I would have done a divide by b and would only save the integer part. So if you're converting a float value, that is not a string containing a float value, an actual value of the data type float, and then you do int, Python again is smart, so it understands like, okay, of course this guy just wants the integer part of the float, and that's all I have to do. So that's what it does. So now if I do this, it gives me 3. 9 3s are 27, so quotient is 3 and remainder is 5. Make sense? So I'll give you guys a short break now, and I'll let you guys also and I'll give you guys an assignment so you guys can try it out. So I'll stop streaming right now. We'll get back to the stream in like 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. It's 3:23 right now. Let's get back at 3:40 and take a 15-minute break. See if you can try the question that I've given you, and let's meet at 3:40.